Meet Sarah. She runs a frozen pizza factory. To keep her assembly lines moving, she relies on one crucial ingredient above all others: a steady, massive supply of cheese. Now meet David. He runs a large dairy farm, managing a herd of 500 cows. His entire livelihood depends on selling the liquid milk those cows produce every single day. Watch wholesale cheese prices. If this line spikes past Sarah's budget, her business collapses. Now, the wholesale price of milk. If it crashes below the cost of animal feed, David can't afford to keep his cows alive. Both business owners are completely paralyzed. They cannot safely hire workers or expand operations when their core costs and daily revenues are entirely unpredictable. The way Sarah and David solve this is by making a deal today that locks in the prices they'll use months from now. In the financial world, this type of price-locking trade is called a dairy futures contract. In practice, Sarah and David agree today on a set, guaranteed price for a specific amount of cheese, which David will deliver to Sarah in exactly 6 months. These agreements aren't made through private handshakes. They are negotiated and traded openly on large centralized hubs, like the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. This single agreement protects them both. It legally caps the absolute maximum Sarah will have to pay for her ingredients, while simultaneously guaranteeing the minimum income David will receive for his milk. A futures contract acts as a permanent price lock. It takes the severe risk of unpredictable price swings off the shoulders of the farmer and the factory worker, transferring it into the financial market. Curious, but there is a biological catch. Raw milk spoils far too fast to be pumped into a cargo ship and traded across international borders. Because of this perishability, global dairy markets trade milk in standardized, bulk versions that can survive long journeys. Primarily, this means heavy blocks of cheese. Transforming perishable milk into stable cheese creates a reliable product. It can sit in a cold storage warehouse, travel by train, and have a strict price tag attached to it months before it is ever eaten. Processors also remove the water entirely. Milk powder is highly storable, lasting for years, making it the perfect dairy product for international cargo shipping. So when Wall Street trades dairy futures, they are negotiating the global price of these highly durable goods, not the gallons of liquid milk sitting in your local grocery store. Long before a futures contract is ever signed, two massive external forces are constantly pushing the underlying price of dairy up and down. The first force is cow feed. Up to half of a dairy farm's operating budget goes directly toward feeding the herd, closely linking the cost of producing milk to the broader corn and soybean markets. If a severe weather event ruins a regional corn harvest, the supply of feed shrinks and its price spikes. Dairy farmers suddenly have to spend far more to keep their cows fed, driving up the baseline cost of milk. The second hidden force is demand. Fast-growing emerging markets, particularly China, import massive amounts of milk powder. When their population buys more dairy, that international demand pulls global prices higher. Ultimately, Sarah's cost to make a local pizza is secretly at the mercy of shifting weather patterns over Midwestern cornfields and changing consumption habits halfway across the globe. But because they signed that futures contract, Sarah and David survived the year. When droughts pushed feed costs up and overseas demand shifted wildly, the price they agreed to pay each other stayed exactly the same. Looking ahead, the dairy industry faces heavy new pressures. Large herds consume vast amounts of fresh water and produce high levels of methane, leading to new environmental regulations that increase the cost of farming. At the same time, plant-based alternatives made from oats and almonds are competing directly for consumer attention, pulling market share away from traditional cow's milk. These combined forces, strict environmental rules and aggressive new competitors, mean that long-term dairy prices will become even harder to predict. Yet, despite all this complexity, you can still walk into a grocery store and buy a frozen pizza for a steady, reliable price. That happens because the invisible safety net of dairy futures quietly absorbs the shocks of a turbulent global market.